Now, one of the key things that students will benefit from is feedback. And so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how to give good feedback and how that's going to really help your students to progress. So feedback needs to and must be future focused. Okay, what can they do to improve next time? Not so much what they should do to have improved this one, because this one, it might be too late. If it's a draft, then you're talking about the future of this document and the draft that it is. But you want to make sure that you are future focused. What can they do to improve it? Not necessarily the same task. It could be a next task that they have to do, but talk to them about the content. If they have misunderstood content, you can correct that. If they have not gotten the processes or thought of good ways of critiquing stuff, then talk about how to work out a good way to critique, rather than just saying you didn't critique this well. Say, all right, when you come to critiquing in the future, try doing this, and this, and then see if that improves them for their next assessment task or the next thing that they submit to you. Now, when it comes to feedback as well, you want to try and give 1 bad for every 5 good comments. And that sounds a bit excessive for the positive parenting side of things, but it actually is come up where if you give more negative comments than that, so if I give 1 bad for every 2 good, even, my students actually will hear the bad a lot more and focus on that rather than the good. Whereas if you have more good stuff in there, that bad comment is more easily accepted, because this is the student's work, and particularly if it's something they've put a lot of effort into. The more effort students put into their work, the better they think it is, regardless of how good it is. They think it's better because they put in effort. And that's something that you need to think of when you're providing feedback. If they have worked hard on this and you start to just smash it, then they're feeling very personally attacked. They put in a lot of effort and they thought it was good and now it's just terrible. Whereas if you can find the good stuff in there and pick just a couple of things for them to improve on for next time, they'll do a lot better at accepting that feedback and making the adjustments you want and listening to what you've got to say. Now, when it comes to beginners need focus around content, whether or not they got it right or wrong. If it's an intermediate learner, they need feedback on how to relate items and how to extend their ideas. And then if it's an advanced learner who has lots of prior knowledge and is getting to be an expert in the domain, they need support around self-regulation in terms of what they're doing and how they can check their own work or check someone else's work and know where they're at and where they need to go to next, that kind of stuff. So whatever students you have in front of you, are they beginners? Tell them whether they got it right or wrong. Are they intermediate? Talk about how they're relating things or how they can extend their ideas. Or if they're advanced, help them to actually monitor it themselves. Say, have a look at the criteria here. How do you think you went at matching that up? And they'll have a look themselves, because they know the content. They can work out what they've done. Feedback only works well when the goal of the learning is known and clearly defined. So your feedback should relate to where you want your students to get to. Have you got success criteria or goals for your students' learning for this lesson, for this assessment, for this whatever it is that you're doing with them? Where are they? And the feedback you're giving them is about, okay, this is where you're at, this is where the goal is, what we need to do to get to that goal. That's what your feedback is focusing on, that future forward feedback. Now, feedback should also show the immediate path ahead. So if they're here and the goal is over here, you want to tell them what they need to do to get here. What do they need to do to get here? Not from here, you need to do blah, 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 blah to get there. No, just get them to the next steps as they work towards their goal. What is the next immediate thing that they need to do? Maybe they just need to go and read an article. Maybe they need to restructure that paragraph. And so you talk to them about how to structure paragraphs, and that's what you focus on, and that will move them forward. And then the next thing might be something else. Now, like I was saying, students need success criteria and worked examples at various levels to really help with their feedback. So if you can talk to them about the differences between a task or a work sample that is worth around 100% compared to a task that's worth 85%, compared to a task that's worth 70 or 60%, and discuss the similarities and differences between them, that's really helpful for the students with their feedback, because then they go, okay, this is where I'm at, and these are the couple of things that I could do to improve and move myself up in what is meant to be a success criteria. What does it look like to be successful in achieving the outcomes? You want to show various ways of being successful too, and tell them how they will know when they have been successful. And that's what your success criteria should tell them, is that it should tell them how to check, okay, have I done this? Yes. Have I done that? Great. Have I done this? Wonderful. I am successful. And they should know what that is, and they should know how they can be successful in different ways. And so you might need to think about not just answering a question on a paper, but how can they do something creative to show that they're successful? How can they do something where they're critiquing or where they're looking at things outside of the box for your subject area or for your stage area to really help them to know that they've been successful, even if they've done it on a tangent. Feedback is really powerful when the students know what success looks like, when it aims to decrease the learning gap, so where the goal is and where they're at, and when it's future focused, where to next. Along with that, intermittent and unpredictable reinforcement produces strong and persistent habits. So your feedback is always at the end of a task, then the students get used to that. Whereas if you are going in and out of students' tasks and providing feedback at random times, that will really help them to get used to the whole idea of getting feedback and improving stuff rather than doing a task, submitting it. Because really all they care about is that mark at the end, and they're not going to pay much attention to your feedback. And one really great tool you could use for that is Google Docs, because you can actually access the students' work, give them feedback and tag them in it, so that they get an email and go, oh, your teacher gave you feedback on your task. It's not even due yet, but you've started it, and I've seen that you started it, and here's some feedback on it. And that just makes it a nice, easy tool to use for that. And if you can increase the number of informal feedback opportunities, students will see the target is becoming real and getting closer. So the more times that you provide feedback and the more opportunities there are for that, then the better the students are at working towards their goals. And that's, when it comes to project-based learning, one of the things that it is good at, if it's structured really well, there are lots and lots and lots of places for feedback. And that's what actually causes the students to learn, is that they made a mistake, they got some feedback, they've done this, they got some good feedback, they've done this, they've done more feedback. And just that constant loop of learning and feedback and learning and feedback really helps our students to get closer to their learning goals. Feedback is also effective when it is received well. So that's that kind of balance between 5 good to 1 bad. You need success criteria, and you need it to be relating to the goal that they're trying to achieve. You want to make sure that the feedback is at or just above the student's level. So whatever the learning task is should be at or just above where they are already. Students should be challenged to invest effort into the goals and the challenges that they've got set in front of them. The environment that they're in should welcome the errors that they make and say, this is a good thing you've tried and you've stuffed up. How wonderful is that? Peer feedback is good, particularly for elaborative discourse and helping kids to take what they know and expand on it a bit. And feedback should cue teachers to deficiencies in learning and changes to practice. So it should also show you what you're missing in your teaching. So it's not just, oh, you didn't get that. It's actually, what have I done to help you with that? Let me have another look at that and reteach it in a different way.